you guys play any games?
Yeah, we will play 9.
How'd it work out?
5-4.
Okay. Pretty good competition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
We were in every game, but able to work it out.
What was the weather like? Yeah.
70s.
70s. Makes all the difference, right? Who else? What'd you do over spring break? What'd you do?
I was supposed to go to Iowa, but I didn't go to South. But I just coached and go down South.
Felt better?
Yeah.
What do you, Tim?
I saw the new Captain America movie.
Oh, how was it?
I actually really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta check it out. I mean, I was heavily into the Marvel universe. Then after Endgame, I like kind of stopped. You know what I mean? Kind of felt like that was the finale, and then everything went streaming on the platforms and stuff. I couldn't keep up with all that stuff, but I would like to see Captain America, Falcon, you know, what about the rest of you? What you do? What you do?
Well, I stayed in Chicago, and I caught up on some things that I needed to do, and I saw family that I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, that's good. Did you make it downtown or do some stuff in the city or?
Now, being from here, I feel like it doesn't catch my eye as much.
Yeah.
I like it in the summer, but I stay away in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the places, I went to a few places, but I was in New York, and, I don't know, I kind of like New York. Yeah, it's like Chicago on steroids. I had lived there in my 20s, but like I got a kind of better appreciation for, such an interesting place. Actually, I passed by, have you seen the Louis Vuitton store that they have in Manhattan? Have you seen it? If you haven't seen it, Google it. It's like a 30-story building with the scaffolding, looks like luggage. But to see it in person, like somebody Google it, just take a look. It looks ridiculous. Yeah, that was so interesting to see. Yeah, I had a great time. It was a little bit chilly, but you know, DC and Philly, just hiking. Yeah. All right. So midterm, some people had different questions or didn't have any questions in their textbook, their edition. So I'll just copy straight out of my textbook, put it up on the blackboard, the 5 questions, I think it is. And then you, for those of you who haven't completed the midterm, there's 5 questions, can have it in by Tuesday. Sound good? Who has their blurbs today? Okay, who doesn't have a blurb? All right, so we can do those at the end. Okay, now we're moving along. What week is this? Is it 9 or 10? This is week 10, right? We only got like not that long left. So we're moving along. All right. But that last class we had some technical difficulties, so we really didn't get to go through this chapter 8, intercultural marketing strategy. So we'll kind of pick up here and look at some different strategies. All right, so what did we talk about last time? Well, as global marketers, we have our work cut out for us, just as we would having a domestic market. We say, hey, what do we provide? Okay, we're going to provide a product or a service. What do we price it at? Well, that's a huge challenge. We're like, well, what is our strategy more important? Do we price something cheap to get volume of sales? But in the minds of consumers, things that are cheap are seen to be just very basic and functional. That means that, you know, if anything should happen within that market or that industry, you probably can't raise the price because you've already conditioned consumers to say this should be a cheap product, right? So there may be some challenges there. Do you price things very expensive, they say, hey, I'm a luxury product, right? How do you convey luxury to people? How do you establish that? How do you become a Gucci, a Louis Vuitton, a Prada, et cetera, in the minds of people? We say, well, you know what, there's another issue. One is distribution, right, which is place. We're talking about these marketing mix, 4 Ps. So we got a challenge with price. We don't know what to price at because we gotta make a profit, right? If we're gonna make a profit, how does that all work? Who do we get it from to make sure we keep the cost cheap, manufacturer or the wholesaler or a broker of some kind? Next we go to place. We say place means not only where do you position the product at, but how it actually gets there, right? It's not like, hey, Starbucks is located on this corner, but actually how quickly can Starbucks get their inventory to that place too? Here in the US, we have things like Grubhub, Uber, so we say, you know what, we have infrastructure for cars, for bikes, things like that. For Amazon sort of vans, independent contractors delivering stuff in their cars. You go to India and China, you say, hey, most of the time things are delivered via moped, scooter, motorcycle. You say, why? It's quicker. There's congestion. How do you weave through into people quickly? Right. So we say distribution also has its challenges. You have to figure out how to get it quicker. Who gets it quicker may have more value to a consumer to a degree. Once again, I say value, like, well, what's value? What is value in terms of products, services? How would you describe value? You know what price is? What's value? Right? Because here the objective really is to provide the greatest value to the customer, not to provide the cheapest price. Price is just one part of it. What's value? Yes?
And what is inherently worth?
Inherently worth? Possible worth to who? The consumer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, you said maybe inherently worth. Anyone else? Value. Think of anything that you buy, or your laptops that you buy. What's the value of that as compared to what you paid for it? Right, we say, hey, value is some sort of abstract concept to the consumer that says that the functionality, the use, everything that has to do with this product exceeds what I paid for it. That is far worth more than the price of what I paid. Hence why I bought the thing in the first place. So, for example, if I go to a restaurant, you know, I have a criteria. I say, I need a great view. And I said, really great ambiance. And the food should be good. And say great. Right? Because all of those things attribute to me as an experience. Right? So with each product or service that we have an experience with it. We have a relationship with it to some degree. It's just either be a bad one, a bad experience, or a very good. If it's a good one, I'm coming back, just like a relationship, right? I'll return. If it's bad, we're not showing back up again, right? So we say, hey, value is something particular to the customer that exceeds what you paid for the thing. I go to this coffee shop kind of every morning because I think they have some of the best coffee in the city. It's a little bit out of the way. But so what I'm saying is the value of me getting great coffee means I won't compromise on crappy coffee even if this place is far away. So it far exceeds me driving to a place just to get coffee, right? It has some sort of value. Because my alternative is just go around the corner to get something close. All right, so we say, hey, price is a challenge here and internationally, right? We have to figure out how to get it to people. We say place is a challenge, how to get it to people. Promotion is a challenge because we say Hey, what language they speak, dialect, slang there, how do they view colors, the redness of red, green, blues, right? Is it offensive to them? Is it something that's sacrilegious, something to agree, challenges there too? And then finally, product, right? We say product is the actual thing we're selling, whether it be a service is also a product. But we say most importantly, it's an experience. Product is an experience. The hoodie that you wear, the jacket that you wear, it has an experience, it has an effect. The effect is like, oh, you get feedback from it, you notice it, you feel good about it. Like, oh, I like it, why do you like it? Oh, I like the color, I like it, it's comfortable, it's this and that, right? All these sort of big things that we have to consider from culture to culture. So we need a strategy, as we would even domestic, right? We need a huge strategy. And we need to figure out who we're gonna be, right? Are you the cost leader? Are you the market shareholder? Are you the most expensive? Are you the most exclusive? Are you the quickest to get to customers, right? You have to develop a plan. All right, so we say global marketing strategy allows a firm to concentrate its limited resources on the greatest opportunity. Here we're talking about maximizing. How to maximize your limited resources. How to maximize what is available to you. One is segmentation, right? You know, segmentation, targeting, positioning, the STPs. We say we can segment the market. How? Let's say we already had a product available in the country, and we say the product has already had a life. What I mean by that? Well, it's already been introduced, then it went through a growth phase, then it matured and kind of flattened out, and now it's kind of dying, right? Product life cycle, business life cycle, that's like a human life cycle. Introductory, growth, maturity, right? As like, what do we do now? Like, well, we have to put on our thinking caps and come up with some unique ideas. Maybe we reimagine a product. Like, how would you do that? Change the package. Change the box, it comes in, change the labels, change the container that it's in. Reimagine this product, right? Like, maybe not. Maybe we add something small to it, right? Add a small little ingredient to make it different. Like, no, it's not the same product. We gotta convey that message that it's not the same product. Some people may not buy it, but no, it's exactly the same thing. I.e., think of Apple. Hey, Apple, what's the new iPhone you're coming out with next September? Oh, it's purple. Come on. It's purple Apple. When's the last time you innovated a phone? We haven't. You just said new, better processor, better camera. Some augmented reality feature that nobody uses. Right? No one's using those things. So Apple's trying to reimagine a product, the iPhone, in its 16th iteration, which says definitely in maturity. Some may say it's declining because the sales for the last couple of years seem to be about the same or less. Apple is struggling. Like, how do you reimagine a product that's been out there for 20 years? Color, oh, it's different. Camera, this and that, right? So there's some reimagining efforts. Change the label, change the color, add an additional feature, change the size of it, right? You're like, oh, you know what, just scale it down. We'll sell it in a smaller package. It was too expensive at a larger size. Make it a smaller size, make it more affordable, and maybe we'll capture the market share again, right? We'll win the hearts of customers all over again. Right? Because these are huge investments, cost a lot of money. So really, when we're thinking of marketing, if we are to work in marketing, this is literally what we're doing. Is trying to reimagine same old products to new customers, to old customers, things of that nature, right? We say, hey, you know what, let's just make it cheaper now. So maybe we dilute the product a little bit, or we make it more cost effective so we can steal customers. now we just price match, right? Where McDonald's, we have a $5 meal, Burger King has a $5 meal, Wendy's has a $5 meal, and everybody has a $5 meal. You bet, is that effective? Can that work? Potentially, right? It depends on what it is. Right, segmentation. Even going back to, they go to McDonald's. You know, in Japan, they sell at McDonald's, like octopus dishes and things like that, calamari dishes as well too, right? So they've adapted there, but they also have to say we still have to be McDonald's. McDonald's is fast and cheap, fast, decent quality food. Some of you may hate McDonald's. It's nasty, but it's a decent quality for what you're paying $5 per meal. All right, so there's a new challenge. How do you sell octopus for cheap, right, at a fast food restaurant? Then we say positioning, marketing mix, allocation of these resources. Remember, we said marketing mix, the 4 Ps, right? How do we allocate price? How do we work with distributors? Are we located in a retail store? Are we a wholesaler? Things of that nature, right? Position. If we really think about, like, say for example, Walmart, and we're like, what is the actual business that Walmart is in? If we were to really get down to the nitty-gritty of it. Really, Walmart is just a place that many brands can house their products. So you say Walmart is really just a place. It's one of the best places that if you have a product to sell, you should place it there, because there's so many customers that come through there, right? So Walmart's greatest thing actually is probably just locations and place. Same kind of happens with McDonald's too. McDonald's is really the greatest asset they have is location, or real estate, as you call it. And how do we allocate all these resources for it to make sense? You know, we think of, most businesses fail. I said about 85% of them is hired from the restaurant industry in the first 5 years, right? So your first year, you're thinking of strategy and identity. So who we're gonna be, right? We're not expected maybe to make any profit, right, at the beginning. But we still have to kind of work through that and think of efficiencies. So once you finally start to get customers, now your job is to think of efficiency. How do we actually do things better so that it finally makes sense to be in business, right? While still keeping a consumer base. So allocation of resources is extremely important. All right, Porter says there's 4 situations that favor global marketing. Remember, the only reason why we're going global may be because we've exacerbated all of the resources here in America. Like, hey, we've capped the market, or the market's too competitive here. Let's go do something else. I, for myself, my first kind of ventures was here domestically. It was buying like 3 flat buildings, right? So I had to have money and investors, right, to purchase these nice 3 flat buildings and charge, ridiculous rents, right? Gold Coast, Chicago, Lincoln Park, Chicago, downtown Chicago. But I'm like, wow, it's expensive to buy in Chicago. The money is US dollars being spent in the US. So, you start to think like, wow, all right, what if you take US dollars with a nice loan and take it somewhere else where they may have a decent real estate market as well too. Like, well, you don't have to buy a brief, like you may buy an acre. You may buy a commercial. You may buy a 20-story apartment, 10-story, something of the degree, right? So you're like, hey, you know what? So for me, I was like, man, this makes sense to go overseas and buy property. The return on investment is just ridiculous, right? And you can also do a lot of things with for more sort of property happy. Renovating places nice, make them luxury, right? Try doing that here is extremely expensive, it may not make sense. You may not make any money, right? And if you have investors, they're not gonna like that. So we say, hey, Porter says there's 4 situations that favor global marketing. Some of their customers' needs worldwide. I think we talked about it, right? Things like toilet paper, candy bars, and soda. Certain products, luxury products, standardized technology and price competitiveness, technology-intensive products, R&D costs, et cetera, right? So we have things like smartphones. We have luxury products. Some trends differ by industry, national regulation and non-tariff barriers. We know that tariffs are a huge thing of discussion here in the United States right now, right? Trump administration trying to place tariffs on China, right, and other countries, trying to see it as a way of competition, bringing back sort of deal here in America, buy from American products, but yeah, it depends, right? For the most part, things may be more expensive for us. Some other trends, culture's influence on the products, right? When we say it could be something going on in that culture, some change, some shift that we need to pay attention to. Or it could be very traditional things that we have to adapt to. Profitability. And then pure cost efficiency. So there's the production and experience effects. We talk about the experience effects, we're talking about altogether the use of the product or service from beginning to end, the purchasing, the utilization, and the disposing of the product, right? How does the customer sort of see that? How do we see that in terms of producing or selling something? International transportability, when we say, hey, you know what, we don't deliver things the same all across the globe. Different infrastructure, some places have dirt roads. How are you gonna get it to them on the dirt road? Right, some places are very remote. How do you get your product to them in a very remote location? And the marketing, right? The marketing say channels and mediums. Maybe it is social media. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's something, maybe it's still billboards are a huge thing in a particular country, right? Maybe it's the public transportation system that we use to advertise, which is the way it is. All right, the logic of scale of economies and experience of effects, right? Experience effects. So to say, hey, you know, we can, maybe the main goal is to scale up, right? To get as many customers as humanly possible, to get the vast market share, right? We want to commercialize or standardize the product at some point, right? We say why? Because that's predictable and we can measure that. If we don't have the ability to standardize and commercialize anything, then we work in a very unpredictable sort of business. We can't project sales. We don't know how many units we would produce in the next amount of time or how many units we would sell. So it's, you know, our goal is to really standardize or commercialize a product by getting economy of scales, right? Scaling the economy, placing ourselves everywhere as possible. All right, so we say experience effects are related to cumulative value of whatever it is we're selling, right? C sub n is the cost of the end unit. C sub 1 is the cost of the first unit ever manufactured. N is the cumulative number of units produced. And delta is an elasticity parameter which links unitary cost to cumulative value reduction. So here we're saying, hey, the cost of the nth unit is equal to the cost of the first unit manufactured, multiply the cumulative number of units produced, right? You don't need to remember this, but this is just good for measurement of experience effects and cumulative value. Some source of experience effects, learning by doing, right? Learning curve. We say, hey, we get into business and we just kind of figure it out and we learn. We jump in head first, we see how things go, and we reevaluate, right? that could be some sort of way of going about money. We can have some technological improvements, right? We can have something available already there that we sell, and we just prove technology for innovation over time. Here they're showing the economic size of a car manufacturer, right? Say 1939, they sold 100,000 cars. By the 60s, 500,000, 70s, 1 million, 1980, 2 million, 2010, 5 million. Which shows that, hey, it takes time, but you can have great outcomes, right? If you're just stable and keep improving the technology over time, you can have fast market share and scale the economy. Stronger experience effects under the following conditions. The product service is mass produced. Think of mass produced, we think of Coca-Cola, we could think of candy bars. There's some large initial fixed costs. If you want to be able to mass produce, you have to buy a ton of machinery, buildings, facilities, employees, right? A lot of research and development, a lot of marketing, but it pays off in the end. There's some limitations of a large size. Products differ in their potentials for experience effects and size. We're talking about say cheese versus chips, right? Some new operation technologies offer cost advantage with lower size. Sometimes it's not best to have very big sort of products as well too, right? There could be some sort of downsides with that. Low cost is not the sole type of competitive advantage, right? So we say, hey, having the cheapest price is not really could potentially not be the greatest competitive advantage that you can have in the marketplace, right? Because we say in the minds of customers, it's all about utilization. Does it solve a problem? Low cost doesn't necessarily mean that you solve a problem. And size without learning does not lead to experience, right? Which means even if we have economies of scale, we're constantly learning, even if we are Coca-Cola, we have to figure out efficiencies and improvements, getting things to customers, marketing, right? Kind of adjusting to cultural sort of trends, et cetera, et cetera. I think we went over this one last time when we talked about transportability, right? When we talked about, hey, it depends, right? Weight, value, dimensions of product, ease and logic, perishability, packaging, speed, whatever you call all these things. GATT, who's familiar with GATT? And the WTO. Did we talk about this?
I know the World Trade Organization, WTO.
What do they do?
I think they regulate trade.
Yeah, remember we said, hey, you know what? Economies emerged, particularly after like World War I, right? Things start to really develop with industrialization. A lot of countries start doing things really great and begin to trade. And so with all these different countries trading, we need to have some sort of consortium, some sort of agreement on what to fly, what to not fly, what are the rules, et cetera, right? So we have the GATT, right? Generally accepted trade tariff treaty, right? Basic principles are taken by the World Trade Organization. The World Trade Organization is the largest body that kind of monitors all trade regulations, agreements, et cetera, right? Primarily administered by the United Nations. We say the EU, right? These countries start to find out that it's better to kind of consolidate if they are in close proximity. So European nations were independently traded before, and they say, hey, you know what, since we're all together in this small geographic area, how about we unionize and come up with a euro dollar, right? A dollar that will be used across borders. Make it easy for customers. It'll probably improve all of our economies, make things sell a lot quicker, right? And so we have those sort of unionization things. So they have customs unions and common external tariffs, which means they abide by external practices for the tariff. And then North American Free Trade Agreement, right? Free trade zone, what are the countries with NAFTA? Who knows the countries involved in NAFTA? The major countries. Canada, US, Mexico, right? Huge economies, right? So huge economies, it probably would be smart for us to work with each other on rules that we all abide by, contracts, agreements. Once again, you know, the current administration is trying to kind of do some more bargaining with Canada and Mexico. Some other basic principles of WTO, right? They say interesting that the GATT Treaty was formed in 1947, right? World War II is in 1945, so a lot of this kind of came out of World War II. Right? So after World War II, the mindset was like, hey, how do we avoid having a third world war? We should probably all get together and have good communication, right? All of the global countries. And so all these principles kind of came out of World War II, including the advent of the United Nations, which was before that called the League of Nations. We have things like the Most Favored Nation Clause, right, which is a principle of non-discrimination except for regional trade agreements. We have principle on national treatment of internal taxation or regulation, prohibition of export subsidies, and elimination of non-tariff barriers. I don't think we need to go through too much of this. Okay, so let's get back to Porter and his world markets. We say we have a preventive or a reactive strategy based on competitive forces, bargaining power of customers, and suppliers and the pressure of substitute and technological alternatives. Which means that if we are in a global marketing space, we're constantly in flux of all these forces. Right? Customers will stop buying. Like, why? Because we don't like that price anymore. That price doesn't work for us. Well, what do? Well, we have to react and respond to them in some way. So customers have bargaining power. There's always new alternatives coming up. They can substitute. There's technological alternatives, right? There's competitors who are doing things better than what we do. So in global industries, we get this worldwide competition with an absence of regulatory barriers, experience effects, homogeneity of behavior across countries. You know, for example, we say China, well, it's kind of easy to sell to Chinese because they're Chinese. You go to a country, predominantly Chinese. Come to the United States, yeah, we're American, we all look different. We all have different tastes and preferences. Yeah, different ethnic backgrounds, cultural beliefs, religious beliefs, right? All different things. Right, so it might make it a little bit easier, there's homogeneity of behavior across the country. It might make us easier to sort of compete, right? Because it's more predictable. Some other things, some absence of market barriers, right? There may not be heavy regulations on marketing, which means that it cause problems for us too, right? People just coming out of the woodworks with things. And then weakness of transportation costs, custom duties, and non-tariff barriers, right? Those can all be some challenges. Some multi-domestic industries. We have fragmented national markets, right? International competition exists separately for each domestic market, such as pharmaceuticals and motor insurance, which means that, hey, one sort of domestic market completely different from the next. We're talking about what can be sold in terms of pharmaceuticals, things under different names, different chemical compounds, and even motor insurance, because they have different laws on domestic locations of the United States. And then we have stronger if products and consumer behavior or the marketing mix depend on culture bound, right? We say this kind of works in our favor. Things are very culture bound. We can predict more so how to go about placing our products and services. Some localization strategies. Local as an alternative to modern. Toys for the global consumer, right? So we have things, toys, for example. Toys are tend to be a local sort of product that are bought all over the world. There could be some alternatives for non-conformists or ethically concerned about toys maybe. But also some products that are unique, exotic, and unusual. They're trying to be exclusive, people love to be different. We could sell information goods, things that just educate or inform people about something. Or good for the less affluent world. Right? Most of the world lives in close to near poverty. Maybe those are a great market for us to enter as opposed to luxury goods. Okay. We'll stop here for right now. We'll move to chapter 9 on Tuesday. All right, let's get our blurbs out the way. Who wants to go first? Want to start here?
Yeah. Alright, so Trump read the 200% tariff on Europe for liquor. It says the world's winning us off, really. But that is in response to Europe putting a tariff on our liquors going there. So like whiskey and bourbon and all that. And apparently the alcohol industry says that they don't want these tariffs to happen, even the United States ones, because it would still generate more economy like out of the country if they had no tariffs. But since that's happening, Trump thinks it's gonna boost the United States economy within like the alcohol is there. And like in the past, it hasn't really done that. So people are kind of iffy about it, but it all kind of stemmed from them going out their way first and putting these tariffs on us.
Why did they do it first, you know?
I don't know. So apparently he was like kind of shook by it too, from what they were saying. But yeah, he's obviously not going to stand for that, so he gave it right back to him, I guess. But economists are saying it's not really the best thing for the economy, really yet.
Yeah, maybe who knows? It could just be talk, right? 200%.
Yeah, 200% is great. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, class? Will this help American liquor producers? Or do you think it'll harm, or it's just going to cost all of us more money when we go to buy this alcohol? What are your thoughts?
I think it's more of just a threat to kind of make other countries kind of back down a little bit more. That everyone can like meet in the middle and find a good deal. So I think he's kind of sticking out his chest right now.
So you think it's kind of wise to just, say like, hey, no, us and China are the biggest economy. Let's bully to kind of get what we want.
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone disagree with this strategy? Thinks this is not the greatest strategy?
I feel like ultimately it's just gonna make things for Americans more expensive. Because if you really think about it, you raise the price by a tariff by like at 200%. They're just gonna charge you 200% more to compensate for this tariff. So it's gonna become really expensive.
Yeah, and then it potentially can make it this kind of go to different markets. All right, good. Yeah, the ones who, still do it will pay for it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll then maybe other markets will emerge from that. Like, you kind of think about that, right? Like, well, remember, this is all a competition. It's like a big sports arena, right? We're like, okay, well, we'll get some new players in the game. It says, here's an opportunity, they're fighting it out. Let's develop some cheap whiskey, right? Let's develop some cheap bourbon of our own. And things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see, but, you know, right now, I guess it's just threats.
Yeah, that's true. But even then, like, they're still able to charge more, even if they make it within their country, because all the other products are gonna be super expensive, so
Yeah.
they're gonna probably raise their prices too, which has happened in the past, which, I don't know. That's why it's all kind of threats, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll
Okay.
see.
All right, excellent. Yeah, I was just in DC, a few days ago. It was so funny, I have some footage. I went to the White House, and out there in the garden with the, what's the rose garden, with the fountain, like, there was just like, these flocks of birds, like, serving the lambs. Like, 3 groups of them actually had us in it. Pretty interesting. But it's kind of scary.
So kind of follow up what Tyler said. Canada hit the U.S. with $20 billion, and very retaliatory tariffs as global trade war gets up. On Wednesday, they announced $21 billion worth of U.S. goods in response to Trump implementing universal steel tariffs. We also get a lot of steel and aluminum from Canada. And besides supplementary duties, it's only 20% on Chinese goods. Trump has suspended other tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
Mike, what, you know what goods we're talking about?
Just like this, steel and aluminum. from
Steel and
Canada,
aluminum.
Because that's where we get all of our steel from.
So that would really impact us,
Yeah.
manufacturing and things like that. Wait, so what did Trump say
Because he was trying to like produce tariffs on those goods,
Mhm.
and so basically Canada hit it back at us. And said, here you go, if you want to play that game, we'll play it back.
Where do you think this is gonna end up?
I think he's gonna have to fold on this one because it's just gonna stop all the manufacturing in the U.S. if we can't get the steel. But that's where a lot of our manufacturing is probably set.
So do you think this Trump sort of, strategy is just to do all these threats to make it seem like,
I think he's trying to play hardball and see people roll over.
if people will fold, who will fold, right?
Because like it kind of worked out for him and he was president 8 years ago. So like I think people are starting to see like
Yeah, not
it's just empty threats.
second time around. Okay, all right, thank you, Mike. All right. Who's never been to DC? Gosh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you can go anywhere and you can see senators and congressmen like everywhere. I actually, a couple of hotels I went, I seen a bunch of like US senators and congressmen that were completely drunk, wasted, like some young, very young women. Like you can see this stuff out in the open. It's like a big free for all. It's like definitely not like the power that they have and what they can get away with. There's also like a lot of white men going on there too.
So I'm gonna talk about the strikes in Germany. This past week, there has been reported that 13 German
were you able to see that how much sort of impact it's had on this particular industry?
It's empty.
But a lot, and it's still going on now, that's right.
I did it this Monday, so I don't know if there's any information.
But this is a common practice.
Yes.
Right? They usually, from what you read, they kind of usually
It usually works.
resolves
Yes,
itself for the
because-
pay increases.
Because it's a lot of money and I know France has, like, when there was a strike about agriculture and then France were just putting like their tractors and dirt in the streets. So France lost a lot of money, so they had to agree to the negotiation phase.
Well, so who can win with this opportunity? What,
It's most likely that the employees are gonna win because it's a big, like, money source of income for Germany.
let's say you, so how can you kind of how can a business capitalize on this? Well, let's say nearby France, Italy, Switzerland, Belgium, like who can capitalize on this strike?
I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is like bus companies. It's like if you cannot take a airplane, then you can take a bus and get somewhere. But also like other countries, like okay, go to Germany, what is going on? Go to Italy, go to France.
Yeah, absolutely, right. Like, hey, the tourism, in neighboring countries kind of blend bus and railways. The railways are really huge in Europe. Yeah, somebody was telling me about this week, yeah. All right, excellent, thank you.
So I just talked about Joann's. They're actually closing. And if you don't know what Joann's is, it's actually a fabric store. They have a whole bunch of different kinds of fabrics, blankets, clothes, pillows, quilts, anything like that. It was founded in 1943. It was originally Cleveland's fabric shop, but it had 18 locations, and then after that, it renamed itself Joann's Fabrics. It has about 800 stores, 19,000 employees before it filed for bankruptcy in January, and it had planned to close over 500 stores, but those plans had changed when recently the group that was going to buy their assets had actually was like, you know what, let's take all of the assets. Main states that are actually affected by this, a major one is California. Most of their stores are in California. And if you think about it geographically, a lot of fashion designers are also in California, so that makes a little bit more sense. And then a few of the states are Florida, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, New York, Washington, and Indiana. They're gonna be hit the hardest with the closures.
Okay, the group that's acquiring this, did you read anything about their plans, so what they're gonna do with all these assets? So usually what happens when these stores closes is like even with Sears and Kmart, it's like a private equity group will come through and purchase all these assets and just kind of sit on them and then like sell the real estate. Or they'll just like kind of put some temporary seasonal sort of, things in these locations.
Yeah, I
For,
saw.
just kind of sell, make some money,
Yeah, I
make
saw
some money.
there's a whole bunch of 40% off, 60% off, and all of things. It just says that it's the most successful bidder, so I guess Joann's was to get to auction.
Okay.
It doesn't say anything about what the plans are after gathering all the money.
Yeah, sad to hear my mom dies, this is about, how Michael's is doing?
No, I don't really like Michael's.
All right, great. Who's next? Tim?
So Southwest Airlines recently announced that they were going to be changing a lot of policies. The biggest one that stood out to me was that starting in May, they will charge for checked luggage. It used to be that you could take like 2 carry-on items with you, and now they're gonna start charging for that, which isn't a great look. They're asking for more money in a time where a lot of people are skeptical about flying in general because of all the plane crashes. Exceptions will be made for premium customers, so they're looking for almost like a subscription from you to say, hey, we want more money from you consistently, not just whenever you come to fly. They will also begin assigning seating, so instead of you have the sections that all go on at different times, it'll be, this is your spot, you're gonna sit here, you don't have much of a say in it. I also saw something else the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I also couldn't confirm it. I think it was that the flight rewards were going to be limited to a certain amount of time that it could be used before they expired, but I couldn't confirm that anywhere, so it might have just been rumor.
What's the reason for all this?
I think, if I were to guess, they're looking to get more higher, a wealthier customer base, because part of the reason why I choose them a lot is that they tend to be a bit cheaper, but still nicer than like a lot of the other options. And I think they're looking for a bit more of an expensive customer base, if I were to guess.
How will this change your perception or your ridership of Southwest?
I have a plane ride with Southwest in April going home for Easter, and I'm not too happy about it now because of these changes. I think it's a bit greedy of them, especially given the situation with all the airplanes recently. I think if this had come out even like last December, it wouldn't be as big of a deal as it is now because of all the crashes that happened.
So you think the timing is wrong for them to do this?
Yeah.
At what point will, you have a good relationship with Southwest, right? So we were talking about customers earlier. So at what point, what's the threshold for Southwest to lose you as a customer?
I don't know if this would lose me as a customer, but I think for some, like for big families who need a plane ride to go somewhere, they might be looking for another company who won't be charging nearly as much or might not have these expenses.
You think they're able to pull this off because they can? Because Southwest is kind of located in the smaller airports, right in the city?
I think they're doing it because they're able to, and they're trying to see if they can get away with it.
Yeah.
They might even push for other changes if this works out.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a trend. I mean, think about, you know, even what Trump is doing, right? Like, maybe even just companies are kind of testing people, right? To kind of see how far they can take things in terms of getting more money or something like that. So it could be experiential, right? They might be just kind of like want to test it out, and if they see some blowback, maybe they go back to how they originally were. Right? All right, great. Anyone else like Southwest? William, how would this affect you?
I mean, I think it is a bit harsh, but they also do have a very good point system for frequent flyer. So like, if you're flying from like Chicago to like, I don't know, New York, it's still like, their point system is still cheaper. It is for like Delta or everything.
All right, so what you're saying is like, hey, you know, Southwest, you were giving us some great stuff. You're kind of entitled to it.
Yeah.
So you're entitled to raise it a little bit.
I mean, a little bit, I think it's a bit extensive to do like, to like not allow people to check like one bag for free, because
Yeah.
that is two. So I think it should be like, I think it should be one bag for free, but then like if you're not a frequent flyer, like a list member, then it should be, you know, pay for something if you are, you know.
So maybe Southwest just wants more loyalty from its customers, right? To be all be premium members and subscribe to this premium. Once again, hey, these are strategies. I don't know, it may not last, right? We say, hey, companies revert, but even as marketers, these are just things that we try out and test, right? Even with Trump, these are like things, hey, what's the strategy? Let's kind of go out and put threats to see the response of threats, right? And like, hey, if we can get 1%, 2%, 3% increase of some money, right, from tariffs from these countries, and it's a win. So ultimately, it's just a strategy, right? We'll just see how it kind of plays out. But, you know, kind of remember this, right? It's all kind of a competition of game. It's like an athletic competition. All right, I will put up those 5 questions on the blackboard again when you guys leave, and then try to get those in by Tuesday, and then I'll see you then. All right, have a great weekend, everyone.